Howdy everyone, good afternoon. It is Wednesday and it is September, let's see, what is today? September the 23rd, is that right? Am I right? Yes, September 23rd and fall has begun. Yes, it has. And I'm going to make some banana chocolate chip nut bread. Most everyone knows banana nut bread, and I think a lot of people do like it, and it's something that's comforting around this time of fall, where in some places it gets cool. It hasn't really gotten cool here in Texas, but we've had some rainy days, and just those kind of days where you just want to cozy on up and have something delicious. And since it's fall, well, that's a great excuse to make some bread. All right, so what I'm going to need is I'm going to need some flour, and I'm going to use 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to need some baking soda, and I will use 1 teaspoon of baking soda, some salt, and that will take 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I will also need 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. That's 1 teaspoon of vanilla. There we go. It's now clear there. It's focused. And I will also need a stick of unsalted butter. Or in my case, I'm going to use baking margarine or baking, it's a baking margarine. It's not a real butter, but you can use real unsalted butter or unsalted margarine, whatever your choice is. I don't have any butter. I haven't bought any lately because I hadn't been baking, like real breads and things like that require real butter. So I'm using a margarine. But certainly I would rather use unsalted butter. All right, I'm also going to use a cup of sugar. That's supposed to spell sugar. I put my finger on there. It's okay. I do that all the time. And then I'm also going to use 2 ripe bananas. Now the recipe calls for three ripe bananas. I only had 2, and it just occurred to me that I could make some banana bread. So this is kind of a last minute, kind of a pantry raid kind of a recipe. So I only had 2 bananas, and they're soft. They're not super ripe, but they're ripe enough. So to make up for that, the other loss of a banana, I'm going to use some chocolate chips. 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. I mean, yeah, this is going to add a different flavor. It's not really going to be a complete banana flavor. It's going to be a little chocolate flavor, but that'll add to the creaminess that's needed for the recipe. And of course, I'm going to use some walnuts. The recipe calls for 1/2 cup. This is about a cup. This little container that I have here. So that's what I'm going to add because I love walnuts. They're my favorite nut. Okay, I take that back. I think cashews and probably pistachios are kind of up there. But, yeah, walnuts are definitely, if not my second, my third favorite nut. And the chocolate chips, well, I decided to use about 1/2 cup. I think that'll be good enough. All right, I'm going to start combining these, and I'll let you know what I do as I go along. All right, so my first step is to take my 2 bananas, or 3 if I had 3, is to take my bananas and mash them up, and I'm going to use a fork, and they're not so hard to mash up actually, so they're pretty good. I think it would be better if they were a little bit more ripe to make a banana bread, a little more brown, softer. But look at this, it's not so hard. I'm using a little bit of force to initially mash them, a little bit of a muscle there, but they're mashing up nicely once I break into them. Look at that. Okay, the recipe doesn't really tell me how much to mash them up, so I'm just going to make sure I don't have like big pieces, and till it looks kind of creamyish, I think. Okay, so I'll be back. And there's my bananas all nice and mashed up. The next step was to take 1 1/4 cups of flour, of AP flour, that's all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and sift them. This is me sifting, okay? This is it. This is my sifting powers. I don't have a sifter. Gosh, I'm going to bake like my grandma did. Well, you know what? My grandmother was a professional cake decorator. She made cakes and measured everything precise. So I'm gonna do this like pre-professional grandma. You know, when she was way younger and wasn't doing that, and she was doing things like her mama or her aunties did. So this is the way we're gonna sift it. And we're gonna do this with a fork. Okay, once I've sifted it to a nice satisfaction, and I'm satisfied because I'm the lazy cook here. And look at the mess I made. Yeah, that's part of it. You cannot bake without getting some flour everywhere. Okay, it's a rule. Don't break it. Okay, so now I'm going to take my 2 large eggs and half a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going to whisk them. Okay, this is going to take a little while to whisk, so I'm going to go to the next step and show you what I'm going to do next, and then I'm going to finish off those things and come back. Yeah. Okay, here I have the stick of, you know, quote, unsalted butter, or AKA baking margarine, and a cup of some white sugar. These, you would put them in your stand mixer and use your little paddle thing and blend them up real nice, but I'm not going to pull that out. I'm being lazy. I actually do have one because my grandmother gave it to me, and but I'm being lazy. So this is going to get mixed in together till they're nice and it says creamy. Cream the butter and sugar together. So that's what I'm going to attempt with this little hand mixer, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we are. The margarine or butter and the sugar has been blended and creamed, and I've whipped my eggs and vanilla. Now it asked me to do it in a measuring cup with a spout so that I could add a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to add, you know, about maybe half of that, and I'm going to blend that in. Put that in there. Now it did say, okay, it does say that when, well, hold, let me finish adding the rest of the egg here and the vanilla that I've whisked together in this bowl. Look how pretty. That looks so pretty. Looks like a cake batter. Get it in there. All right, okay, now, look how pretty that looks. Now, it does say now to add my banana mix. It doesn't say to add in a little bit at a time. It just says add the cream bananas. And I'm going to use a spatula in a minute to add the rest of that little bit that's still in there, because I don't like to waste. I want to use the whole thing, because I did ask for 3 bananas and I only had 2, so I don't want to leave out any of it. Okay, so now it says to blend in, or rather mix in the bananas. Okay, and that's where it, the instructions are telling me that it's going to look like it's curdled, and it does have that look of being curdled, but it says that that's okay. And to keep just mixing it well, and then the next step would be to add the flour. And I'll be back with that. Okay, so here I am with my flour, baking soda, and salt that I've sifted with a fork. This is my sifting technique. I don't know if it actually exists or if anybody else uses it. It's certainly not a professional, but this is my sifting technique. And this is basically breaking up the clumps in the flour. And I actually put my fingers through it, and it feels really nice. Okay, it feels real nice and soft and silky. Yes. Okay, so here are my eggs and bananas and what's in here? Butter and, well, margarine and some sugar and some vanilla that you saw me mix just a little bit ago. And now it's asking me to use a spatula. A little spatula. Look at my little piggy. He's so cute. To use a spatula to blend in the flour, which I have now dunked in there. And I'm going to just slowly kind of folding it in, being really loving. Yeah, real nice like that. And until it just creates this yummy batter. And I'm going to tell you something. I can smell the bananas. I can smell the vanilla because I'm using a Mexican vanilla. Now, it's a vanilla blend, okay? But normally, and I've been using this up only because someone brought it to me, so I'm using it up. But what I wanted was a vanilla extract, like real Mexican vanilla extract. But this is what they brought me. And I'm just using it because it's artificial and some real stuff in there, but some artificial. That's not what I wanted. But I'm using it up, and it's pretty good, and it smells good. See, these are old-fashioned, authentic Mexican tradition. Yet it's not really authentic. But that's okay. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right, next time they better bring me the actual stuff. But that's what I'm using. But I can smell it, and it smells delicious. And the blend of vanilla and bananas. Okay, so now, remember I had some chocolate chips and some walnuts. Those are the last ingredients. And this is nice, and I think it's nicely blended. I see, well, that's yellow line on the bottom of my bowl. I thought that was egg. Okay, so like egg yolk or something. Okay, I'm going to add these, I'm going to add the chocolate chips last. Whoa, 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 whoa. Lefty. Okay, here we go. Blending in. Now, it says to use walnut pieces. And I buy, like big chunks bag. My husband does bags of walnuts because he likes to put it in his oatmeal. And he likes a big clump of walnut to bite into, which I love too. So these were kind of almost at the bottom of the bag. What was almost left. So there's some powdery bits of walnut, and there's some little tiny pieces, and there's some big chunks. And I decided, I'm just going to use it like that because it will give my bread some rustic character. All right, those are blended in. Now I'm going to add the chocolate chips, which you do not have to add in. You can leave those out and just add 3 bananas instead. But well, you know what? I'm making an excuse. Yeah, I didn't have a 3rd banana as the recipe asked for, and I'm using the chocolate chips as an excuse for something creamy. But you know what? I really wanted the chocolate chips in there. That's the truth. That's what I wanted. So, yeah, I added them in. And that was just about maybe half a cup or so. Maybe a little bit more. No, about half a cup. Okay, we're going to call it half a cup, just for the sake of you having a measurement to use if you want to recreate this. And now I've got my pan, and it asks for a 9 by 5. I don't know why I showed you that. That's not important. It doesn't have to have flowers. Okay, so I'm using a 9-inch by 5-inch by 3-inch loaf pan. Now, if you don't have a loaf pan, use any other little baking, like a little 8-inch square baking dish. It's no big deal, as long as it's nice and deep so that your bread will have a room to rise. That's all I can tell you about that. So, maybe have some smaller ones, maybe a couple of smaller ones, and make some nice small little loaves. You can also gift those. Okay, this is ready. So now I'm going to go ahead and pour this in here. And once I get it in there, I'm going to tap it to make sure any little big air bubbles pop out and make sure that my bread is evenly distributed in there. And then I'm going to put it in a 350 degrees Celsius oven. And actually, I've already got that going, and it's hot now. It's been preheating, and it's told me a bit ago that it is ready. So I'm going to put this in the oven for 55 minutes. Wow. Yeah, that's like a long time, an hour of baking a bread, but it's 350 degrees, so I'm not going to fret over it. I get nervous when it asks for like 425 or so, and then it says bake for an hour or 2 hours. That's when I get nervous. So, because I don't like to put my oven at higher than 400. Twice already it's happened where I have done that, and the baking element at the bottom pops on me. I have to go replace that. So I keep it down, and I like to cook things a little slow and low. Okay, so that's just me. But if you don't care for high temperatures, then by all means go for it. But this asks for 350 degree oven. Bread goes in the pan, which I've sprayed with some nonstick baking spray. 55 minutes. And I'll be back to show you the finished product. Yeah, if you're watching this video, that means it actually came out good. So I will be showing that to you. And here we are, almost an hour later, because it took a little over 55 minutes. And let's check it. Yep, clear. Bread is done. This is a banana chocolate chip walnut bread. I'm going to pull it out of here. I'm going to let it cool off a little bit. And I'm going to pull it out and slice it, and we can see what it looks like inside. And here it is. The cake, or the bread, is out of the pan. I've placed it on a platter, and I've cut some slices. And you can see the chocolate chips in there, and the nuts. And of course there's banana in there. Little piece here. The outside's a little crunchy because I did bake it for a little bit extra. Oh my gosh, I just got a piece of nut. Delicious. So good. That's all I can say is delicious. I think that's my word. But it truly is. It's yummy. It's perfect. I'm going to save that for later. I was about to snag off another little piece to take another bite. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I probably want to slice it a little bit thicker so it doesn't break up on me. And of course, let it cool off completely. When I sliced into it, there was still some steam coming out. And of course, because of the bread still being hot, it's fallen apart on me a little bit. So obviously, put it on a little cooling rack, let it cool off completely, and then slice into it with a serrated knife. I hope you enjoyed my banana chocolate chip nut bread recipe. If you have your own recipe you'd like to share, go ahead and put it in your comments. Maybe put a link. Maybe you have a video you'd like to share also in the comments. Please like my video and please subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. And I hope you enjoy.